Welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. There's a big buzz around the world about the term self-partnering at the moment. You may have heard that. Emma Watson came out and talked about how happy she is as a single person being self-partnered. And I've also just done an interview for Elle magazine about it. So it's really awesome. And I'm thrilled about this, knowing that more people are starting to understand self-partnering and explore how personally gratifying and healthy it really is. Self-partnering is hugely important for everybody to be safe and healthy in your own body, able to live free of abuse and abusive patterns, and truly generate the life and love that you were born to live. In this Thriver TV episode, I'm going to explain to you exactly why self-partnering is so vital for you to understand as a member of this community. But before we dive into this vital information today, I want to say thank you to all of you who've subscribed to my channel for supporting the Thriver mission. And I'd like to remind you that if you haven't yet done so, please do. And also make sure that if you enjoy this video, that you give it a thumbs up. All right, so on to this episode. I want to start with how we were all taught not to self-partner. Our world communities and forebears taught us the very opposite of self-partnering. The messages we received were that certain emotions that we experience are unpalatable, and we're supposed to avoid them and shut them down at all costs. In terms of emotional distress, which is always a signal to turn inwards and understand and heal something within, we were taught to do the exact opposite. What we have instead done in times of emotional distress is try to numb out, self-medicating by grabbing somebody or something else to try to fix how we feel, or project our inner pain onto someone or something else as a way of trying to get relief from it. None of these things have proven helpful or healthy. In fact, they're just as disastrous as it would be to ignore a leaking roof and think that our possessions and furniture aren't going to get wet, or our motor car's grinding engine and think that we can just continue driving it. Self-partnering is the act of coming together with our true inner being and being able to process our emotions towards our own healthy self-integration. Self-avoiding, self-medicating, and self-abandoning doesn't allow us to integrate with ourselves. Rather, it further creates disintegration with our inner being, which is the core of how our entire life goes. I want to explore how self-separation is a match to narcissists. Okay, so you've turned your back now. Fair enough. I want to explore how self-separation is a match to narcissists. If we are not self-partnered, we are as susceptible to abusers as an injured gazelle on the edge of a pack is to a predator. We aren't solid, empowered, and whole. Because we haven't processed our inner fractures, our painful beliefs, traumas, and emotions to wholeness, we are susceptible to an abuser coming into our life, pretending to be the savior of the broken parts of ourselves. And this is what narcissists are famous for and skilled at doing, picking off people who are not self-partnered as supply and food. And if we are not self-partnered, we will cling to these people, trying to force them to partner us healthily when they don't have the resources to do that. And if we do find and connect with healthy partners, then there is enormous pressure that we can place on them trying to fulfill our emotional requirements for us, instead of allowing space in the relationship to breathe, so that we can feel whole and healthy. Not being self-partnered truly is the definition of codependency, as the requirement of somebody outside of ourselves to give us ourselves, rather than turning inwards and healing ourselves to wholeness. Make no mistake, narcissists are also desperately codependent. They require people to feed on to get significance and narcissistic supply in order to avoid the pain of their self-annihilating and severely damaged inner being. There are myths about self-partnering. People may think that being self-partnered means that you'll be an island to yourself and that you won't need anybody else in your life. This is a complete fallacy, but I understand it because I used to believe it myself. I promise you with all of my heart that if you are doing the essential work to become self-partnered in your own body on this planet, it will mean that your relationships will improve in unprecedented ways. The reason being is that as a whole healthy person, you have done the vital inner work on yourself to release trauma and come home to yourself. And this will mean that you will show up in completely and different ways that are vastly more healthy than what you used to. And what you will discover is that the negative self-talk melts away. All of the resentment, regret, and anger of your past melts away. A profound gratitude, joy, and excitement for your life begins. And this is regardless of what you've been through or suffered in your personal history. You won't be needy for approval. And this is because you've become a source of love and approval to yourself. And this means that you can take your time to get to know people, and your energy isn't frantic or desperate around them. It also means that when things start to feel unsavory or not quite right, you can have difficult conversations and lay boundaries to see if people have the resources to step up and meet you at a healthy, safe level of relationship or not. And if they don't, you will no longer cling like a person on the edge of a sinking boat, thinking that this person is required for you to feel safe and whole. You just already are safe and whole. What you will also discover is that the people who do come into your life will start to reflect more of your inner self-partnered wholeness. So within, so without, like attracts like. We are in a completely vibrational universe whereby the people and the situations that do come into our life are the perfect match for the state of our inner being. When we do the integral work on our inner being, we discover that the matching resources and people who will also genuinely support and integrate with us in healthy ways, they come into view. We start being attracted to these situations and people, whereas before they were invisible to us. And we lose the attraction toward the people and situations that were the previous representations of our inner broken parts. My experience with being self-partnered is the manifestation of beautiful and joyful relationships. I've been able to be a lot more honest in my relationships. I'm more particular in my relationships. I've met and connected with the most incredible people who have beautiful souls and hearts as a self-partnered person. I experience deep, intimate relationships at the level of honesty, trust, and kindness that is a far cry from my previous battles with wounded people whilst I was trying to survive my own wounds. I am so excited about people understanding that self-partnering is the foundation for all relationships that we will have in life. Self-partnering is a path to self-love. And of course, we're brought up to try to get love outside of ourselves because we thought that the only way that we could be love was to get love. We didn't realize that we already are pure love when we turn inwards with self-devotion, compassion, and kindness, rather than the self-annihilating criticisms and conditional love that we believe were necessary to try to force ourselves into shape to somehow deserve love. This is what I love so much about the Thriver process, is to heal. By turning inwards, meeting our inner being with the intention to heal ourselves to wholeness, and with the use of profound quantum tools, we can load up our traumas, release them, and bring in source to replace them. This is the love of our higher power, our higher self, and our superconscious, which is us. It is who we really are. These forces are also our highest and best integration with life and others. I know with my previous internal traumas, I was always struggling and battling to try to find the way to love myself. I would go to seminars and I would read books and I would do affirmations and all sorts of spiritual practices daily. Yet all of these things were simply processes that I was trying to do in my mind in order to teach myself to love myself. When we self-partner and meet and be with our inner being unconditionally, with the full intention to excavate and release all the false beliefs, traumas and lies we've been told, and keep bringing in who we really are, which is source, then we know the truth. Self-love is not something that we learn, and it's not something that's meant to take a lot of effort to keep reinforcing and remembering. We can't do self-love. Self-love is who we are and our organic beingness. When we lose the traumas and false beliefs that have disconnected us from our essential being. When coming back to our true self as self-loving people, a huge shift occurs. We gravitate to accept and generate life with healthy resources and people. We stop trying to turn crumbs into cookies because we feel so empty and alone. Part of our organic shift into self-partnering is realizing that in our coded DNA, when we remember who we truly are, that we know we are never separated from the whole. At the subatomic level, we now know scientifically that everything and everyone is interconnected as one. There is no separation. When we experience this as a coded knowing, as an emotion deep within our inner being that just is, we are no longer out of the fold trying to do whatever it takes to be loved and accepted. That, sadly, that separation made us highly susceptible to abusers, as well as staying with them even when the abuse was horrific. Our old model of life contained false beliefs, such as it's narcissistic and it's wrong to focus attention and healing on yourself to become love because it's self-absorbed. When we experience this as a coded knowing, as an emotion deep within our inner being that just is, we're no longer out of the fold trying to do whatever it takes to be loved and accepted. This sadly has made us highly susceptible to abusers, as well as staying with them even when the abuse is horrific. Our old model of life contained false beliefs such as it is narcissistic and wrong to focus attention and healing on yourself to become love because it's self-absorbed. And this has caused broken people to keep choosing and participating in broken relationships, as well as hurting themselves and others. We thought that it was loving to self-sacrifice and to hurt ourselves in the pursuit of helping and loving others. Nothing could be further from the truth. If we don't love ourselves, there is an impossibility to generate loving relationships with others and to inspire others to create a life with you that is loving. If you agree, I want you to pause this video and right below, I'm going to self-partner so that I can start loving others more healthily as well. Okay, so what is self-partnering exactly? To put it simply, self-partnering is the being with ourselves, our emotions unconditionally, warts and all. Then from there, the deeper, even more evolutionary way to self-partner is to make it your greatest mission to free yourself by unlearning all the lies and false beliefs that you've been taught, by shifting out your trauma so that you can burst forth into the being you truly are. Someone who has the experience of life and love going right from the inside out. Here are some statements to determine whether you are self-partnered yet. You love spending time with yourself, are capable of fun and enjoyment on your own, are extended and radiant in life, are your own greatest supporter, speak to yourself lovingly, validate and are with your own feelings in times of need, dedicate time to being with and working on yourself, step up and are your own soother and healer when necessary, are your own best friend, companion and lover. Make devotion to your inner being a higher priority. I really want you to understand that none of these states are possible if you're not prepared to self-partner. And if you're not, in stark contrast, you will dislike spending time alone, not feel joyful when alone, feel scared to connect to and be out in life, demand more of yourself, criticize and shame yourself, seek self-medication choices to avoid painful feelings, seek outer stimulation and people to try to feel better, self-abandon in times of emotional distress, be your own worst enemy, dismiss and not take care of your own well-being, and of course, connect up to unhealthy and even abusive people to try to make them love you better. Okay, so I really hope that this Thriver TV episode has inspired you to understand exactly why self-partnering is not just a preferable thing to do, it's actually the only thing to do to start generating the life that you really want to live, the healthy and happy life of your dreams. So if it is your time to become self-partnered, then join me. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it by clicking the link at the top right of this video. So do that now. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please subscribe to my channel so that you'll be notified as soon as each new one is released. And please remember to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and share it with people that you know it can help. And as always, I look forward to answering your comments and your questions below. So until the next episode, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.